Since the last time we spoke, practice and kind of where we've been at, as I praised how well we had kind of responded, we came out that night and probably had our worst practice. And yet, it's one of those deals where I just think more than anything, time where they were at, soreness, they, for the first time, let being uncomfortable actually overtake them a little bit. I think they realized and came back, and we had a really good spirited practice in on the next day, and then rebounded yesterday. I thought yesterday our defense especially did a great job in sudden change, as to what they need to do, holding the team to a field goal. Obviously that says your offense is not doing it very well, but the way they responded I thought was great. The piece in third downs and third and short, starting to see some real physicality, and that's been fun to see. So from those standpoints, that's kind of where we're at. Getting excited to scrimmage today. We'll get another opportunity to let some guys try to make the team. This will be heavy on some special teams situation and kind of where we're headed. But one of the things from that standpoint, you guys are going to see a lot of new names out there playing a lot of special teams. And that is not for lack of other players. That's because these guys have stepped up and really want to play and have embraced it. And, obviously have the ability to make a difference for, especially on the return units, which I'm really excited to see some guys stepping up. Some of those freshmen and redshirt freshmen. It's been fun to see. So we'll get another opportunity of that. We'll play it kind of as many game kind of situational things, just kind of flow of the game, more having to do with understanding substitutions, where you need to be when special teams, all that kind of thing. So we'll see how we handle that. We'll have a real good goal line situation, which will be the first time that we'll do that in full pads. So that'll be fun to see. And then another good red area session. So that's kind of what we're hoping to get out of this today. With that, kind of moving towards the injury piece. There'll be some guys that won't practice today. They're not, hold yourself here, they're not any career-ending injuries or anything. Just, they're not going to scrimmage today. We're going to hold Martez out. Probably Duke. He's got a tight leg. Part of that is to see kind of where some guys step up as well. So I'm excited for that opportunity. Our biggest area where we've had a kind of a rash of injuries has been the tight end spot. Ciante won't go. He's been out doing individual drills and non-contact stuff. So he won't practice yet, but he'll be back next week, full go, or should be. Both Morrill Stevens and Kamori Gamble have got some foot issues. They've been in boots for the last 2 days, and so they won't go. DeAndre Goolsby is at home with family. His grandmother passed away. Those services, I believe, are today. So he'll be back, but it gives us an opportunity now to really work on our gold, red, and purple packages, which will really stress the defense. There'll be a lot of good stuff for us to do offensively as well. So it should be fun. Looking forward to seeing those guys perform. And more than that, really looking forward to seeing some of those young guys, especially some of the interior guys. Kyrie Campbell has really come on. I've been excited, and let's see if he can sustain as well as our Bam Bam boys, as we call them, the two big guys, two freshmen inside. They need to get as many reps as possible moving forward. Antonius Clayton keeps coming, and that's a guy that we're looking forward to see have another really good scrimmage and get a lot of reps there. On offense, kind of seeing where DeQuan, Green, Kadarius, and James Robinson want to see them get a lot of in and out substitution things, playing without a coach in their ear, kind of letting them play and see how they handle it, without having somebody right there behind you all the time, and see kind of how they handle just playing the game. So this will be fun for those guys. The quarterback reps will be pretty balanced, and again, some of that depends on how many and how they move the team. They move the team, they're going to get more reps. They don't move the team, that's probably not a good deal. So that's what's going to happen today there. Other than that, other injuries, I guess, with Nick Washington's been out there every day. We're just holding him off because of that shoulder. So he's been in no contact, but he's been in the drills. CJ McWilliams is still with a string. Talked about Morrill. Quincy Litton, I thought we might get back today, and he's a guy that's got to be big for us in special teams as well, but doesn't look like he's going to be able to go, which is why you've seen a lot of guys getting those reps in those safety and corner spots, just because of where we're at with the guys that are down. And you don't ever wish somebody goes down, but when somebody goes down, somebody steps up, and that's an opportunity for them to get the reps and get better and go and play. So we also had one addition to our team, which I'm really excited about. Former Gator Ahmad Black is back in school, finishing his degree. He's working with us as a student coach, and it's great. We had, the other day we had, I don't know what it was, about 150 former Gator players. We invited, all the former players to a practice and had a dinner afterwards where our guys were able to mingle with them. But it's great to see Ahmad with us. He's got a great smile, his energy, obviously, a guy that knows what it is to win. And the fact he's coming back and getting his degree, that's really says so much. So we're excited about having him back in the fold. Questions?
When you left on Monday, we were all still a little confused. The suspension of team activities for those 7 guys, does that go all the way through the Michigan game, or could they be back in practice sooner?
No, until it's resolved.
Andrew? So a year ago today, you named Luke Del Rio the starting quarterback.
Just love this. You know what? I'm going to start writing a diary so I know what to expect when I come in. This is good. And I'm guessing 3 years ago today, I named Derek Grayson the starter, right? Is that at Colorado State?
I'm unfamiliar. I'll call out, yes.
Why don't you call out and check with the guys?
I'm wondering though, how challenging, or what does it say about this competition that it's? I'm not saying that it's not.
Here's what I would say.
Streaming results.
Yeah, no, I've been really kind of pleased with how the guys that were here kind of accepted the challenge when Malik came in, and I like the way Malik prepares. In other words, looking at it is he's really competing against himself, and he truly understands what that means. And I wish every player got that, because you're never competing against anybody. You're actually competing against yourself. Your ability to go out and perform. And from a mindset standpoint, that to me is what it's all about. And you got to throw all the exterior stuff away in whatever it is you're doing and focus on what you do, because that's the one thing each one of us can control, is what we do. And not worry about this and that, but actually focus on whatever that rep is, whatever that task is we're doing that day, and do it to the best of our ability. And I see our guys kind of in that quarterback room really kind of figuring that out.
Is there a challenge though, as you get closer and closer to the game, with knowing roles and things like that for these guys? And you knowing who's... Yeah,
I haven't seen it affect, how we're going about our business at all. So, obviously we'll get one out there and move forward.
I guess kind of similarly to that point, Luke Del Rey was talking about how he's never really been in a situation where it's been a three-way battle for
Yeah.
the starting QB job. How have you guys been able to balance that? He was talking about some of the 2-spot, 3-spot drills. How have you seen that balance?
Yeah, and I think the big thing is knowing that everything they do is graded. Everything they do is critiqued. You obviously put down the hard numbers, and where they bear out, and then understand from there's some human element as to how the people were around them, during some of those. So, but that's a good thing about the way we practice it. There's not a lack of reps.
Okay, another one for you real quick.
Sure.
I know you guys have some injuries at safety, but Sean Davis, where do you see him kind of fitting in? And is he a guy that's shown you enough to maybe be in that conversation of 4 or 5 best?
Yeah, and I think, that's one of those positions you kind of talk about where, next man up. And he's taken advantage of a lot of that, as Brad Stewart has, as Steiner has. Donovan's done a really good job. I mean, I'm really pleased with those guys in that group as to how quickly they picked it up, but more than that, how willing they are to go compete. And I think that speaks a lot for kind of who they are.
Kevin?
Yeah, Coach, you discussed, kind of in your opening about some new guys getting some opportunities on special teams. Just curious, who are some of the guys you're kind of looking at in the return game, both on the kickoff?
In the return game, obviously getting Dre Massey back, he was our returner, right? And he's a guy that I'm excited about being back. Brandon Powell obviously has that ability, kickoff return. Tyreek Cleveland, and one of those freshmen that runs really fast, and I'm kind of excited about that as well.
And just your kicking game, just the value of having 2 guys that are kind of all SEC caliber. Just how does that kind of impact special teams wise?
Yeah, I think and we always speak just kind of about those kickers, but also that snapper is pretty decent, which helps the timing, the confidence of those guys, and he hasn't missed a beat. So I think that core group, I think the big thing they need to understand, and Johnny missed it a couple times last year, is there's certain places we need to kick the ball, there's certain guys we can't kick it to, and it isn't just about seeing how far you can kick it. It's about understanding the game plan and executing the game plan from that position. And that's been a big piece for him this training camp.
Graham over here to the right, Coach.
You added Nick and Duke will be out. How important is it to be cautious of those guys, especially when you factor in Marcel's injury?
I think the time that you actually become cautious is when you actually get hurt. That's usually what it is. Yeah. And so, we play hard and we practice hard, and we've been, pretty good so far. I mean, we haven't had anything, major other than nicks and bruises kind of moving forward. So, but with that, we really don't worry about it. It's a game that you have to play at a peak level, and that's what we're getting at.
And 4 tight ends out. What are you looking for from Khalif Jackson? And what have you seen out of him?
Khalif obviously is getting a ton, as well as Fergie and Fallis, but we've done some things also where we brought R.J. Raymond over a little bit in some of the gold stuff we do, and as I said before, it actually allows us the opportunity to work red and purple and orange. So the different personnel groups, it's actually kind of fun.
Edgar?
How much of a change have you seen in Duke Dawson now that he's kind of been thrust into a leadership role as a young run?
He's done an outstanding job. He's a guy that's accepted it. And he's a guy that doesn't, the thing I like about Duke is he's not one of these rah-rah talker guys. I mean, he goes out and does it. Through his actions is something that's been really good. And you can tell even those young guys saying, oh, I see now how I'm supposed to go about it because of Duke. And he's done a good job of bringing a couple of those guys under his wings in meetings, walkthroughs, and where I've seen it is really in the walkthrough phases where he's been a real good communicator. And one thing we talked about, I said, Duke, remember when you were playing early, and you were out there and maybe weren't sure, and wished maybe somebody would have told you, exactly communicating with each other. So he understands that, and he's done a great job with the communication piece.
He said he wants those guys to be great, is what he said. Is that an attitude that has to be kind of bred into the culture of the team? Is that the
No
attitude
doubt.
you saw when you got here?
Yeah, there was definitely, especially in that unit, when you just look at the great players, that have played back there, and even over time, the great players that have played back there, and I think that's part of that legacy piece.
Matt, right to the right.
I looked it up. Apparently, you didn't name Garrett Grayson the starter until like during the week, because 6 days before. 6 days before.
Thank you. That is beautiful. 6 days before?
Well, 6 days before, there was a story that all three were on the top of the depth chart.
Okay.
So a lot of wars apparently. Just doing my job.
You are doing your job. I love it.
So, is there a front runner of those three right now?
It's tough to say. We'll see. We'll take a look at how they handle another opportunity where no one's on the field, right? It's you executing the calls, handling the fastballs, getting guys in right formations, understanding your snap, all those type of things. So I think it goes back to kind of putting as many game type situations in as possible. And here's one great thing here, is being able to go and execute a practice scrimmage in the swamp. I mean, it elevates these guys because it's such, it's part of the reason they're here. And I always like to see the reaction as to how they elevate when they're in, a great environment.
So I guess I'll follow that up with the August thing. So the fact that you need more data suggests this is really a close battle.
Sure, yeah, it really is, and that's a good thing.
Guys are gonna have to work for it.
You've emphasized the importance of making camp uncomfortable. What are a couple ways that you've been able to do that, and how have you seen the team respond to
Well,
making it uncomfortable?
I would say this, without kind of giving any secrets up. I would think our guys kind of understand that they better be able to flip that switch at any time, and they never know when. I think the physicality in which we played with, I think from a duration standpoint, what we've done, it's really interesting because now you got guys that say, I was kind of thinking about checking out, but that was actually pretty fun. And so that's kind of what the part is, and yet we'll see. Time will tell. And I guess the biggest thing is they understand the why, and that's what I like.
And then DeQuan Green, he seemed to have been impressing the last couple practices that we've been able to see. What have you seen from him over this last month since he got on campus?
Yeah, boy, he's done a good job. Obviously swims a little bit, on some of the things we're asking him to do, and yet that's why even today's going to be really good for him. But he's a guy that, what I like is he goes out and goes around his business, about his business. He's got really good hands, and he's got a big, strong body. Some of the things that he's done away from the ball has been really good. So, like I said, those three young guys, we need to get a really good look at them today and see how they do. And he's a guy, too, that figures in special teams. Sometimes we always think it's defensive guys, but those offensive guys as well have got to be a huge part of that.
Since you mentioned it, playing away from the ball, how have you seen the blocking from
Yeah,
those
it's
guys
been,
on the perimeter?
the transition piece, which was a point of emphasis, has been really good. We were able to, we constantly pull from not only us, but from things that happen in other games, where that transition block might be the difference between, a 15-yard gain or a home run. And that's new for some of those young guys because they like to watch the ball. But you see some of these other guys, as soon as it happens, they've transitioned, and yet the young DBs got to understand that they're going to get blocked, so they got to get off the block. And so it's been good for both sides of the ball.
And you mentioned the word secrets. Is there maybe an advantage to leaving something like a quarterback battle open-ended going into a big game like Michigan?
Oh, I don't know. You know, I mean, obviously, these guys have different attributes, I mean, as to how they play. Obviously, the same overall package that maybe Felipe has is maybe different than maybe what Malik has, and yet the base fundamentals are the same, right? You take Del Rio and maybe some of the things that he does that maybe aren't sitting in Felipe's, you know, so I think, you know, I don't know if it's, I mean, look, at the end of the day, whatever game you play, your base principles have to be sound. And you've got to have, I don't even know what they're going to jump into. They might jump in and play sink the whole game. I don't know.
They had a reporter from New Jersey, I guess covered Rutgers. Freedom of Information Act did their roster, because I guess Michigan hasn't put one out.
Really? Have we put ours out?
Yes.
Okay, so we're good. All right.
Thank you for that, by the way.
All right, yeah, I appreciate that. I'm not going to go there. But, all right, guys.
May I ask one more?
Yeah, sure.
Did you get a Kylan?
Yo, Kylan's not going to go today. He ran finally yesterday, and I missed that. I did not on purpose, okay?
Okay.
But he ran, and you know he should be back next week. I'm guessing.
Edgar and then Nick.
What's your plan, how often are you planning on using the IPL? I think I got a little sunburn out there the other day.
Well, one of the things that we have found out is, you know, in Florida this time of year, right about the middle of practice, the lightning kind of hits. So we've had to load up and head to the IPF, and yet I don't look at that as a negative as much as I look at it, here's an opportunity to teach transition. And our guys have handled that well.
But you just want it to be outside just because of the demands of that?
Well, you know, we play in the South. We play outdoors most of all the games except for, you know, the couple at the end of the game or end of the year and the one that we're opening up with. So I think it's important that you guys get used to it. And, you know, our guys, man, this swamp place gets a little warm at times. And I think we need to use that for our advantage, and I think it truly is.
Nick.
There was a report that came out this morning that Jordan Smith is involved in an investigation separate from the previous one, this one with the credit card fraud in an apartment complex here.
Sure.
Comment on his status with the team or another thing happening?
Well, him and the rest of the guys still aren't with us, you know, until anything's resolved. So I haven't gotten anything from the authorities or anything. But like I said, until it's resolved, you know, that's the way it is.